I'm trying to find my way to the hookah fest. Which way I go? I'm trying to find my way to the hookah fest.
Time to smoke, baby.
Hookah fest, baby. Which way I go? What is we doing?
Come on, Justin, what's up?
Hey, I appreciate y'all taking the time to do this. Thanks for talking to me.
All good, my brother. All good.
All right. Well, I
I'm
wanted
just
to start
rolling a
with
joint in front of my hotel, just sitting in the truck, and JD just scratching because he can't find no quality hookah. He's a hookah fiend, you know. I think he's going through his drawers.
Gotcha. So I want to take it to the kind of the start of how this collaboration's got going. JD, what was your reaction when you first heard Currency's Jermaine Dupri song?
I had a bunch of different emotions. I was shocked. I also was like, why? Then I was like excited about it. You know what I mean? Like, cause it's like, it's, out of all of things that a person could do, they made a song and titled the song after me. That's pretty crazy. So this is a bunch of different emotions.
Currency, when was the first time JD reached out to you about it, and how did that kind of evolve into y'all collaborating?
I think the day or two after I dropped, like the second day or maybe the day I dropped the video, I feel like I hadn't shot the video. I hadn't shot that video knowing that this was gonna happen. So I definitely I feel like I shot the video before he reached out. So once it dropped and he was like, yo, let's line up and do a record. I was just grateful to be pulling up to do a record. I don't mean a record like the whole project. I really was just going to hang out with him and try to get one beat, and then possibly build my career-defining album with one Jermaine Dupri beat. But instead, we hung out and we've created volumes of career-defining music. Yeah.
Now, what was that like for you two? Where like you said, Currency, you were expecting just one beat, but y'all obviously clicked, and it turned into a whole collaboration of multiple projects.
Yeah, we were fucking double dragons, man. Like we just was like, oh, you like this? You watch these movies? You do this? Like great. So I wasn't in a rush to go back home and fucking like and break out my cars and action figures because this dude has all of that same shit at his studio. There's like 5-foot stormtroopers and shit in the sound booth with you. So I wasn't in a rush to leave. He created a space that you wouldn't want to leave in, and it don't even feel like work,
What about you, JD? What was your perspective on working with Spitta?
Yeah, like pretty much the same. I mean, we kind of like the same guy. Only difference is he smoked weed. If I smoke, we'd be the same person. Damn it, probably.
Yep.
I mean, it just when we started talking about that type of stuff, and just like he's taking pictures of things that's in the studio so he can take back to his son. You know what I mean? Like stormtroopers and the Star Wars. We just start having conversation about a bunch of things that just we have in common, and that just leads to the right energy in the studio.
When y'all were making these projects, yeah, for motivational use only, did y'all imagine maybe this as an album first, or did you always picture it as okay, this is gonna be multiple volumes of EPs or anything?
We never talked about it.
We never, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just making songs. We were hanging out, but in the process of hanging out, if like he said, if we both smoke weed, then that's probably what we would have did. But the fact that he didn't smoke weed is like, well, what else we gonna do, my nigga? We might as well make songs. We got everything else in common. Like, what else are we? What act can we do? And we just kept doing something, just keep doing music. Otherwise, we just sitting around watching movies, and we both would probably rather watch movies with girls. So we had to put work into it. You know what I'm saying? And make it make sense.
Got you. Good. Now, JD, you've worked with so many artists over the years. How did Currency differ from other artists, and what were your kind of expectations going into working with him?
I mean, it's not actually not as much work for me, because he writing all of his songs, he writing all what he wants to write about, and this, that, and third. I get to sit back and watch him take what I present to him and what that makes him do, and then we collectively come together and finish it off. So it's almost a simpler thing, but it's a fun simple. You know what I mean? It's a fun sit back and watch type of situation. I still gotta make my beats and do what I gotta do, but once that's done, we have this pass off situation, and we don't talk about nothing, what type of song we gonna make or nothing before
we've never realized anything. Just happens. That's the beautiful thing we got going.
Was that something different for you in terms of your process? Like when you're working with other producers, was there something that JD brought that you hadn't seen before or expected?
I mean, just his presence. He is who he is, so you know what time it is. It's like when motherfuckers get drafted and then your first game, like, your teammate is Michael Jordan. And then he passes you the ball and you're wide open. It's like, okay, if I miss, he's never gonna pass the ball again. Possibly tell Phil Jackson to get rid of me. You know what I'm saying? So you just make sure you nail it.
Oh, now JD, this year you're celebrating the 30th anniversary of So Def. What does that mean to you? And when you look back, what do you kind of feel is the legacy of So Def?
I mean, it means everything, because when you start a record company at the age that I started, you don't actually believe that it's gonna even be around a year. You know what I mean? So to be around for 30 years, it sounds really pretty impossible to me. That's one part. Then to be able to like actually look at the industry today, 30 years later, and see all of my artists and see what each one of the artists did, is it means a lot to me, because like I said, none of my artists were signed to somewhere else before. Everybody that I put out was brand new from scratch. An idea that I basically was like, I think you could be an artist, I think you should be an artist, or somebody that came to me was an artist and I put them out. So to see that they still live in this space, even like with all of the noise that Escape is making, it's still my group. Regardless of like whatever's going on the internet and how much they got, the internet going crazy. The world only knows about Escape from me. So just to see that in the modern world, these people that I brought to life, it's pretty exciting.
Currency, is there I'm wondering kind of your viewpoint on So Def is like, is there something that you've kind of learned watching from afar and from getting, and getting to work with JD, when you're when it comes to Jet Life?
Yeah. Jet Life has had a billboard. We put a billboard downtown in New Orleans in a prominent area that people always had to see when they came into the city. And that's a page that I stole directly from the So Def handbook of making sure motherfuckers know that you're a force in the city. And even if they don't know about you, the fact that they knew about the city enough to travel to it, they need to find out what the fuck you are, because you're welcoming them to the city. So who are you? And I learned that from them, like flat out. That shit was as big as the Olympic torch that you saw. from the freeway too. You know, they were the same thing to me.
Absolutely. You got to speak. Speaking of kind of that, that having that presence in New Orleans. I mean, you've been like lately. You're a staple at Pelicans games. A few years ago, you bought the Bud Boilers old location. What does it mean to you, kind of to have that impact and be so defined with New Orleans now?
It's the world to me because things that meant a lot to me, like that shaped me. You know what I'm saying? I went to that burger spot my whole life. When I started low riding, that was like one of the best spots to park the car and take pictures of. The Jet Life store is in the spot where we used to park. It was a old school building, old university administration building. They weren't using it, but the lighting around that building was so good, and it was right on Canal Street. We always parked the lowriders right in front of us, so I ended up getting the spot. Like that's what my whole life is about. You know what I'm saying? Kind of preserving the things that I think are dope because I'm sure other people would think so too. You know. So that with my city, that's for sure what I've been about. The stuff that matter to me, trying to hold on to it for the next one who's coming up. It could impact them in a way, you know.
JD, what has it been like for you, to be so intrinsically part of Atlanta's, what the world sees as Atlanta, and what's kind of your view of Atlanta's current scene today?
I mean, it's I didn't do the Atlanta thing by a design. I feel like it just happened to be time, basically. I was fortunate to be the first of a lot of things in the city, and fortunate to be at the beginning of the start of a lot of things that happened in the city. So, but that's just based on time. It wasn't something that I designed. But the way the city is now, I love the growth of the city. But I feel like musically we have declined from what it was in my era of coming up. The pool is not that big anymore. The artistry is not there as much as it used to be, and it needs to get back to that. Kids need to get back into being creative and not being scared to do what the music makes them want to do.
Is there anybody you see now, like, right, that you feel like it is getting creative, it is taking that challenge, or is it just you're kind of waiting to be impressed?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see if what I'm saying happens. Because normally what I'm saying usually happens. Whether it's not from me or somebody else, it's just in the universe, and the universe is probably telling me to say this, and because there's somebody that's getting ready to come out that's in that space. I hope that's what happens.
Gotcha. Now, I'm wondering, Currency, if you're kind of seeing anything like that in New Orleans. Do you see a new kind of a star in the making? Is there someone, maybe even on Jet Life right now? I know you got you got a few artists, newer artists that have been coming in, but what are you thinking
On the
about kind of
whole,
the future of New Orleans?
on the whole, I'm excited for my label actually because like you speak to people on the label, and Fendi been working for a long time, but I feel like his hard work is probably just about to cash in. Like people have grown accustomed to the style of music that he make because the artists that are on Jet Life, they don't rap like me. We don't make the same styles of music. So the group of listeners that they kind of are grandfathered into, it's they have to win them over. They gotta like show them, what I'm saying, what they do. But my listeners are receptive, so I think that they all gonna see the fruits of their labor as far as that go. But in the city on the whole, outside of us, like artists like Rob 49 and Nino Calvin and them, like they're like people who I follow they moves. I like what they're doing, and we've always been hands on, you know what I'm saying, and down the bus moves with them. through their rise anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like we kind of all in the same thing.
In terms of your career, I think one of the most impressive things of your longevity is just your ability to adapt. From the No Limit days to Cash Money to your independent success. What do you credit that ability to adapt to?
I mean, just how much I love my family, and I want to be able to make shit happen for them. You did. There's like a lady would pick a car up off her baby, so I'm gonna figure out how to make this shit work for my mom and dad and shit. Like it's on. That's all you gotta adapt. People say like you hear it in raps all the time. Like I hear it. I feel like in Young Jeezy's voice, but I don't know who said it. I'm like, yeah, hustlers adapt. I've heard that. You know what I'm saying? It's just you picturing it a different way. It's not about the price of the bricks going up. It's just that it went from CDs to clicks and shit like that. The drug has changed, and you need to know how to sling that shit every time.
As you saw, that change, the change from CDs to streaming, I mean, you were right at the height of the blog era. Did you feel like you played a big role in kind of that that need to kind of
I
constantly
think
feed your audience?
I inspired a gang of millionaires at this point. There's a lot of artists, who and they give it up to me. They tell me, you know what I'm saying? And they say it in interviews sometimes and shit too, like I pretty much showed them you could just be yourself, and if you put the work in, people will gravitate to it, and people will be your best like street team, because like when you find something you want to tell your homies and shit, like, yo, check this out, because it's dope. And that's how shit grew. That's how a lot of us have grown after me. Ever like if you became a millionaire because you had records on SoundCloud, like I essentially designed how that goes. You know what I'm saying? Without even trying. That's what's up,
JD, I'm wondering if these projects with Currency, is this kind of in any way for you kind of a something to prove, something to kind of just remind people of your greatness? Do you view them in that way at all?
No, I think that it's. I mean, it is a reminder to let people know that I started out my first record was a rap record. My first group that I put out was a rap group, right? So I do think that a lot of times people lose sight that the first time you heard Jermaine Dupri was through a rap group called Crisscross. Jermaine Dupri's first single was with him and Jay-Z. I don't think people actually be paying attention to how rap I am. So it is a reminder to remind you of how hip hop I am, because uh in the press everybody starts talking about Mariah Carey, which you should, and you start talking about Usher, which you should, and all of these people, but then you lose sight of how much hip hop I actually have in me and how hip hop I am. So I think all of this, like the performance, we got our first show on the 7th. And I feel like the way we're talking about doing the show is all a reminder to everyone from my side that this is what I actually do. The other stuff that y'all hear from me is the stuff that I've learned from this that I actually do.
Well, a few months ago, I saw you were, you were talking about working on a Freaknik documentary. I'm wondering what's the process of that? How far along is that, and when could people expect to maybe see that?
Yeah, it's almost done. It's coming out on Hulu. We got a little bit more filming to do, but it's pretty close. It's just trying to make sure we can make those that didn't attend Freaknik feel the energy through the screen.
I'm excited to see that. Well, guys, I really appreciate y'all taking the time to speak with me. Anything you want to make sure people know about For Motivational Use Only before it drops?
Yeah, like I said, I want to say this. We are having our first show because people keep asking if there's gonna be a tour. The first show for the tour is on 4/7. The album comes out on 4/4. The first show is on 4/7 in Atlanta. You know, fly down, come see what's happening.
Travel
Because the show
for it.
that's, by the way, yeah, because I say the show that's gonna be in Atlanta will probably be, I won't say the most special, but you know, since we have our special guests on the album, they'll more likely come to that show than you know, a LA show or one of these other shows. So, you know, come check this out.
Get a plane ticket and get a concert ticket. Just do what's right. Do it.
Yeah.
Sounds like so. Again, I appreciate y'all's time, guys. Thanks
right.
y'all for doing this.
All right, thanks.
Bro.